Hey guys, 98 Sports Talk here with my prediction for Auburn in 2018. And if you're new to the channel, give it a look. This is a new channel and it's all about SEC football basically. So if you're an SEC football fan, hit that subscribe button. But let's get into the video here and what I think about Auburn. Last season, Auburn was 10-4, 7-1 in conference. SEC West champs. Played Georgia, lost to Georgia in that rematch in the SEC championship. But overall, I'd say Auburn had a successful season. I'm pretty sure Gus Malzahn, if you ask him privately, would say that as well, since everybody was calling for his head there, and he ended up signing, not only not getting fired, but he signed an extension. So I think overall, even though I'm sure Auburn fans were disappointed to lose the SEC championship game, getting to the SEC championship game, you've got to consider that a success. So let's take a look at 2018 and compare, look at the offense and defense for Auburn and, see if, those two units are trending up and down and what I think. And at the end, we'll go over the schedule and I'll give you guys my prediction. So, offensively, obviously, Stidham's coming back. He did have a little, I don't know what the deal was. It was reported as a minor some type of minor surgery on his non-throwing arm, but anytime you have some type of surgery, that could be a bad thing. But I'm going to assume everything's okay with Stidham there, so he should be fine, ready to go. And I'm assuming Auburn probably won't get off to that slow start that happened at the beginning of last season and basically caused them to lose that Clemson game. Running backs, obviously Kerryon Johnson is gone. But I think Cam Martin is probably going to be the feature back. But you could also see Harold Joyner get some time there. He's a true freshman. Auburn just signed him in 2018. I think he could make an impact. He seems like a pretty good recruit there for Auburn. Wide receivers, Auburn's going to be just fine there. I think that unit as a whole probably will improve just a bit. Offensive line is a bit of a concern for Auburn in 2018. Auburn's losing 4 starters. But I don't think it's going to be a huge drop off, but I do think the offensive line is going to take a slight step back. So, and obviously losing Kerryon Johnson is big as well. He was really, he played really well when he was in there and healthy. So I think overall, I think Auburn's offense will, if I had to guess, I think it's going to take a slight step back. Not a big step back at all. Nothing. I don't even really think it's going to be very noticeable. But I do think they'll take a slight step back. I think Stidham will improve. Those receivers will improve. But when you lose 4 starters on the offensive line and you lose your big time running back, you're probably going to take a little bit of a step back there. So offensively, I'll say they'll just take a slight step back over what we saw from 2017. Defensively, it looks pretty good for Auburn. I would say overall, it's probably going to be a slight step up. They lose Jeff Holland and Trey Matthews. Those are probably the two biggest names. Holland, provided a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks and got a lot of sacks. But I think Auburn's going to be okay on the defensive line. Linebackers are coming back. And in the secondary, Auburn's losing a number of guys, but I do think they'll be okay. And again, the problem there, I think, is just losing the leadership of Trey Matthews and Holland. But, overall, I think they'll be okay. I think they'll be able to replace those safeties and DBs, and linebackers are coming back, and defensive line. So I actually think that Auburn might take a slight step up. And so if you look at it overall, I think Auburn is going to put about the same team on the field in 2018 as they did from 2017. Again, slight step back on the offense, maybe a slight step forward, or slight step back defensively, depending on how big of an impact losing Holland and Trey Matthews are. But essentially Auburn's going to be about the same team as what we saw. So it really comes down to the schedule and who they play. So let's get into the schedule here. And I love how a lot of teams are doing this nowadays, putting a big opponent on your schedule and, seeing what's up. Auburn's doing that, playing in Atlanta against Washington in the opener. And Washington is, going to be a favorite probably for the playoffs, to be honest, just because they don't play anybody out there in the Pac-12. But I do think Auburn is going to win this game. It's going to be tough, but I think Auburn will win the game. I think they'll just be better than Washington is. I mean, the SEC is just better than the Pac-12. I mean, period. So I think Auburn gets that win. Then Auburn's got a cupcake. Then plays LSU. That's going to be and I look at Auburn's schedule as kind of three swing games. The Washington game, the LSU game, and later at Mississippi State. Mississippi State's going to be a pretty good team. Those kind of games will kind of determine Auburn's season. Well, not really determine Auburn's season, but they need to win those games basically, because you've also got Georgia and Alabama on the schedule, obviously at the end. But let's get through it here. So Washington, I do think they'll win that game. Cupcake. Then LSU, I think they'll beat LSU. LSU still doesn't have a quarterback. That's a big problem for them. Arkansas, Southern Miss at home. Then again, that game that I talked about, they go on the road to Mississippi State. That's going to be a tough game, especially at Mississippi State. I do think they'll win that game, but again, Auburn could lose that game. It's going to be a tough one. Then Auburn gets Tennessee at home, then goes and plays on the road at Ole Miss. I think Auburn wins both of those games. Then a bye week, and then Texas A&M, which I think Texas A&M could be vastly improved. I think Auburn's still going to win this game as well. Then you've got that just killer part of their schedule at the end, where Auburn goes on the road to Athens and plays Georgia, then has a cupcake team, I think it was Liberty, and then plays on the road at Alabama. I think Auburn, and the Georgia game's gonna, and Alabama, obviously those are going to be very, close games, tough games, but I do think Auburn's going to come up short on both of those, simply because both those games are on the road. Last year they had them both at home and won both of them, but this year it's going to be a lot more difficult to go on the road in Athens and on the road to, I think it's Bryant-Denny this year. But I don't see Auburn winning either of those games. So I think Auburn is going to end up being 10-2 this year, and most likely will miss out on the SEC championship, due to Bama. I think Bama's probably just going to sweep the table and do that. But Auburn's going to be very tough, and could they beat Bama again? Definitely. I'm not gonna. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could definitely happen. I'd say maybe 20, 30. Maybe 40% chance of them beating Alabama, and could beat Georgia as well. Even though I do think they'll lose both those, but it should be a interesting season, especially with Stidham more used to that offense. We'll see what happens. So if you like this video, guys, hit the like button. And if you think I'm wrong on some of these games that I'm picking, let me know down in the comment section and smash that sub button. And I'll see you guys in the next video.